Have you ever wondered where the electricity powering your morning coffee or your late-night Netflix binge actually comes from? We usually take the grid for granted, until the lights go out. But hidden in plain sight within the S&P 500 is a company that has quietly become one of the most important energy titans on the planet. Today, we are stepping inside NextEra Energy. Ticker symbol, NEE. If you look at a stock chart, you might think this is a high-growth tech company. But its journey is so much more than lines on a graph. It is a story that begins with selling blocks of ice in the 1920s and ends with dethroning oil giants like ExxonMobil in market value. It is a story of humble beginnings, bold reinvention, and a business model that changed how Wall Street thinks about clean energy. So, is this just a boring utility stock, or is it the future of the American grid? Let's rewind the clock to the Roaring Twenties to find out. Our story starts nearly a century ago in sunny Florida. But forget about air conditioning. In the 1920s, the killer app wasn't cooling the air, it was keeping food from rotting. On December 28, 1925, the Florida Power and Light Company, FPL, was officially incorporated. But here is the fun part. They weren't just selling electricity. In those early days, FPL ran water facilities, laundry services, an ice cream business, and massive ice plants. They even owned a sponge fishing boat and a team of 35 mules. Bait by the Florida sun and fueled by ambition, FPL powered homes, businesses, and communities, lighting up 76,000 customers in 58 towns during its first year. But it wasn't a straight line up. They had to survive the collapse of the Florida land boom, the Great Depression, and World War II. There's a legendary story from the Great Depression. When people couldn't afford electricity, FPL turned its employees into door-to-door salesmen. But they weren't selling stocks, they were selling electric toasters and irons to convince people that electricity was worth the bill. That greed paid off. By 1950, FPL's shares were listed on the New York Stock Exchange. This was the turning point. It marked its entry as a public company, inviting everyday investors to own a piece of the Florida growth story. With public capital flowing in, FPL began to dream bigger. Florida's population was exploding, and they needed more power, faster. This era defined the company's technological DNA. While others stuck to coal, FPL bet on the cutting edge. In 1972, Florida's first nuclear power reactor at Turkey Point began operation, followed by the St. Lucie plant in 1976. These weren't just power plants, they were massive bets on diversifying energy sources away from oil. This operational excellence caught the eye of the financial world. On June 30, 1976, FPL was included in the S&P 500 index. This is a crucial detail. NextEra didn't just join the S&P recently, its roots have anchored the index for nearly 50 years. But by the 1980s, the company realized that just being a Florida utility wasn't enough. In 1984, they formed a holding company called FPL Group. This was the cocoon from which the modern butterfly would emerge. They launched a subsidiary called FPL Energy in 1998 to explore competitive energy generation outside of Florida. Most utilities stay in their lane. They serve their local customers and go home. FPL Group did the opposite. They looked at the wind blowing across the Great Plains and the sun beating down on the Mojave Desert and saw dollar signs. Fast forward to 2010. FPL Group made a decision that would confuse some but clarify everything for Wall Street. They officially changed their name to NextEra Energy. This wasn't just marketing. It was a declaration of war on the old way of doing things. The company had evolved into a two-headed monster, in the best way possible. We call this the twin-engine business model, and it is the secret sauce behind their stock performance. Engine number 1 is Florida Power and Light. This is the regulated utility. It's steady, boring, and cash-rich. Because Florida has a growing population and favorable regulations, this engine generates reliable cash flow, rain or shine. Engine number 2 is NextEra Energy Resources, NextEra. This is the unregulated arm. They take the cash from the utility side and invest it into building wind and solar projects all over North America, from California to Canada. They then sell that clean power to other companies like Google, Amazon, or other utilities on long-term contracts. By 2009, they were already the largest generator of wind and solar power in North America. While other oil and gas companies were debating if climate change was real, NextEra was busy building the infrastructure to profit from it. The climax of this strategy happened in October 2020. In a moment that shocked the financial world, NextEra Energy briefly surpassed ExxonMobil in market capitalization. Think about that. An electric utility company from Florida became more valuable than the descendants of John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil. It signaled a changing of the guard. Wall Street was no longer just valuing barrels of oil, they were valuing gigawatts of renewable generation. So, what is next for NextEra? They aren't slowing down. They have announced a goal called Real Zero, aiming to eliminate carbon emissions from their operations by 2045 without using offsets. They are betting big on green hydrogen and massive battery storage systems to solve the one problem renewables still have: what to do when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. Today, NextEra trades daily on the NYSE under the ticker NEE. It's a dividend aristocrat in the making, having increased its dividend for decades. For investors, it offers a rare mix: the safety of a utility with the growth potential of a tech stock. NextEra teaches us that even the biggest names can start with humble roots, from ice wagons and mules to nuclear reactors and wind farms. It's a celebration of science and people, powering life's coziest moments while tackling society's biggest challenges. Behind every switch you flip, there's a story. For NextEra, it's a story of bold transitions, enduring comfort, and clean energy dreams coming true. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the stocks shaping our world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments, do you think NextEra will stay the king of energy? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.